First, I'll introduce myself. My name is Deborah Page. Now a Saik'uz Mary member. My grandmother was Veronica George. My grandfather, maternal grandfather, was Duncan George. My grandmother's father was Ashiel Kepo from Notley, and my mother's name was Elizabeth Goshi. She left here in the 1940s when my grandfather gave up his status after coming back from the war. So it became non-status at that time and were removed from the community because of the AGA Act at that time. So recently, not really recently, but reinstated, but I grew up with my grandmother for a long time up at Lake Town, so I learned a lot from her and how important her language and culture was. So that's why I do the work that I do. And it's like this what the name University Uzakdel. Hello people of Saik'uz, I'm glad you all came. Okay, we continue to work hard 21-22 in our language revitalization efforts. This is important, time-sensitive work. Our language is in danger, as is many languages. And we keep losing our speakers and our elders and our knowledge holders. And I'd like to recognize Betsy Williams, who was a very important part of our program, who passed away in December 16, 2020. Recognize Margaret Antoine, another important elder that we lost in December of 2021. And of course, Hazel Alexis, who's really worked hard in our program, came to work every day, worked 7 hours a day, and was really, really important to our efforts to save our language. Okay, right now we have 7 to 10 speakers that are left that can speak not even fluent, not my grandmother's fluent or your grandmother's fluent. Even they have lost some of their language, but we only have that many people left in our community that can do the language work. And they're all but 2 are over 70. Okay. The first program I'm going to talk about is the language technology program. Just to mention that most of our language work is based on fundraising. We've been very lucky in our fundraising efforts to get money to do our language. When I was initially hired, it was through the Pathway Forwards 1.0, which your chief of council at the time, as well as Carissa County Tribal Council, went to the province of BC, and it's a very nice negotiation to get money for language, culture, justice, government. So the money that we got, I was hired under that program, and actually with my fundraising, I was able to make that last until June of this year. And I think most bands spend all their money in the first year, so fundraising is how they get most of the money. Okay, the first program I'll talk about is digitization grant. We got 180,000 from First Peoples, and then the Chief Council put in another 83,000 from the Pathways Forward 2.2 program. The program involves restored archival audio and video tapes that are in our archive, as well as that I donated a bunch that my grandmother had, and other people have donated tapes in a language that the elders are working on. Then we met this young fellow who applied for a job, and we were lucky to have him because he's so super technical and smart, sometimes funny. So this is Travis, who's up front here. He works in our department and does all the digitization for us and all the technical work. So we have digitized and repaired 147 audio and 179 video tapes, which include high-8 and CDs. Just to put it out there so that for you to keep in mind, if it's very carefully cared for, stored right, kept in temperature perfect position, your tape will last maybe 30 years. After that, it starts to lose its quality and it becomes unusable. So it's really important that if you have tapes, we encourage you to bring it in and we will digitize it for you so that that information is not lost. And if you want to, you can share it with us in our efforts because it's important that we get everything upgraded. So it's very important culture, language, information, so it's valuable. Okay. Talk a little bit about the elders we work with. Our elders are in our parking right now, and they come in every day, put in 7 hours a day, and they work hard. And I think one of our elders is in his 80s, and he still comes to work. So Julie George, she's here. She was. Julie. She left. Oh, she's back there. Okay. She's Gracie John, Ruby Patrick. Just mention a couple of things about Ruby and Gracie and why they're still so fluent. Is that their parents were not let them go to the JAC. They were kept back, hidden from the JAC, and they were able to maintain their language. I just wanted to make note of that. Arlene John, she was here. Johnny John, he is here, way back there someplace, right back there. So these elders work as translators. Their task is to translate audio and video that isn't DACA, and they translate it into English as close as they can get to literal translation. When we went over some of the tapes that were translated previously, they were more of an overview, but not literally word for word, so it's important. And we use, Gina has been working with us for a couple of years, and Gina Mason uses a program called Audacity, and she enters in translations in the audio tracks. So you'll see here, there's audio tracks. The elders listen, and they say what it is in English, and Gina types it underneath. And they do that. And yeah. So they translate it into English. And we also have Karen Thomas, and I think again she was brought up by her auntie, who was a very strong language and cultural person, again from the same family, was not brought to LeJac, was able to maintain her language. And I think Karen learned a lot from her auntie that brought her up, what she calls her mom. So she uses the same program to try from DACA to DACA. So that's hard work. There's very few people that can do that anymore, going from DACA to DACA. Using the same program. Yeah. So she translates from DACA to DACA to DACA. Keep forgetting about this name. So that's the work that we've been doing for the last 2 years. We've been lucky to get funded from First Peoples to do this work. It's hard, scientifically, but it's important. And we're lucky to have people like Karen that can do that work. First Voices. The other component of the digitization program is the First Voices. Is the second component of things. It's we're putting our language on the internet under the First Voices program. Due to COVID, we had to slow down because we couldn't bring the elders and do the recordings because we didn't want to put them at risk. So we were a little behind in this program, but we still were funded for another year. So the First Voices has 3 components. It's the single word here, and then we have a sentence to go with it. And then there has to be an illustration. For every entry, there has to be a text file, an audio file, and illustration. So it's time consuming, but I think it's worth it. We have 250 words with audio, 450 without audio, 390 words without illustration, 654 document phrases, 7 songs, 9 stories so far put on that site. And right here's a link to the site. If you have the handout for the report, it's also in the report, so you can go on and have a look at what we're doing in this program. Pathway to language vitality. What we're doing this year is mostly language tests. Previous years we had after-school programs, but this year we felt they couldn't give us as much as they had wanted because they didn't get their funding, so they cut us back to half. So they said, pick one program that you want to go with. So this is the one we picked. So we got money from them again. We got $100,000, but due to COVID, we didn't spend it all. Languages program is funded. Languages is a program that originated originally out of New Zealand, and it's called the Language Nest because they liken it to feeding young birds. When the mom feeds them, they feed them the little birds. And they said that's how we should be feeding our children the language. Mom feeding the little bird the language. That's why they call it the Language Nest. And this is so that we children are trying to get as much as possible in these days because they're so few speakers in an environment where they're just hearing that. Susie Ann is our teacher that goes into the daycare. Okay, we first started this program in 2019. We have just finished our second year at the end of this last fiscal year. The children receive 3 hours a day of total immersion in our DAC language, using a variety of methods, including total physical response, syllabics, drum and dancing, singing, and storytelling. Total physical response is where you have the children move. We also are learning the third language because we use sign language to test the students in what they have learned. So, and instead of saying it to them or saying it in English, the only way we can test them to see it is if we say Sin Yan, they have to show us Sin Yan in sign language. So that's where that part of the program is ran. Okay, where did it go? Over here. Had a senior moment there. So Susie Antoine and 2 elders, Julie, George, and Maureen Vaughn spend 3 hours a day teaching DAC to the children with the help of Head Start staff members. The staff members get in there as well. The children have been practicing singing and drumming with the help of Rosa and Susie Antoine. Rosa is right there. She, even though sometimes she doesn't feel the hottest, she still does and teaches the children really appreciate that. And also, our teacher, she knows how to sing and drum, so she gets the children involved. We actually commissioned between the Head Start funds and our funds. We commissioned Landis and Michelle to make regalia for the children. The children will not be taken in with them, but it'll stay at the Head Start. But they have the regalia now, and it's pretty cool. And also, we helped the Head Start program by developing materials. I'm always, that's the thing I love best is developing materials. So we developed materials for, and with the Head Start program, I did a number of these for their science fair where I had the DACA and the pictures. This one here is the anatomy of the salmon and DACA. This one here is and what we use is making hand calculus is so good at it. But this is the point. And we buy the toys from the co-op. You see all those little miniature toys? And that's what we use with the kids to teach them the animal names. And I think it's effective. We've also translated some of the children's books into DACA. And this is from Brown here. Okay, what you see is SFN, so that's I saw a blue horse, that's what I saw. Blue horse, like you see. So you all remember that book, right? Brown Bear. So we translated it into DACA. The other one we did was Big Dog, Little Dog, Feeding School. And this is an example of that. So we've been translating English books into DACA. We were using the kids at the daycare. And hopefully we get them produced. We can also send them home with the parents with a sound tape, maybe a soundtrack. So that's something in the future. Culture camp. Last year we were not able to have culture camp because of COVID, so we couldn't go out and do our usual culture camp at Paddock. But Travis organized a number of local, smaller events. One of them was Birch Park Maker. Kids went out and learned how to peel the trees, and then I didn't have any pictures of them actually making the baskets. They did make baskets. And I just took that because I liked it. It's when they took them out in Wedgwood and they were teaching them how to fish. And this last one is just how interested the kids are. I thought that was cool. They're really studying that rock. Say, or is it wrong? Say, yes, and they're looking at the rock. What's to come? Looks like I said we have enough funding to keep going on the digitization. Not for the whole year. We are going to run out and we're going to have to go half those scores to finish the year. We're going to get to half through the year, and because halfway's the Head Start or the language test is underused, we have enough to get through the year because they let us continue on to the next year. So we're good there. Okay, and I just like to thank our team, my team, just claim them, for their dedications of long hours of hard work in that fiscal year. And which means I am thankful to all of you for what you have done.